Good evening, Canada. I'm Vanessa Tutt reporting to you from RMC Channel 9. Today is Wednesday, November 6, 1947. The war is now over and our troops are now safe at home from fighting against the German Nazis. But today we are not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about the Canadians' contribution to the war effort. Many Canadian women, farmers, businessmen, and citizens did their part to help provide for our troops at home. In the end, Canada had spent $16 billion to sustain the war effort. Many Canadians bought bonds to help support the war effort. Altogether, Britain and Canada gave $2 billion to the war effort. Canada's allies were impressed with how much food, supplies, and equipment that we provided to bring the Allied forces to victory. Lots of Canadians, such as farmers, had a huge contribution to the war effort by growing crops, caring for livestock, and providing good quality milk. Now we're going to show a quick video clip about how we use our materials to make weapons and supplies for the war. Canadian women had the biggest contribution to the war effort because when the men left for war, many jobs were left available. Women had a chance to work once again. Women worked mostly in factories and on the farms. Women would build munitions, tanks, ships, and other weapons that were needed for the war. And by 1943, there were 261,000 women working in factories, and also 33,000 women had worked in aircraft industries with men building planes that would help our success in the war. Over 1 million women worked in jobs outside of the home, helping to support the war effort, and it became common to see women driving trucks, taxis, buses, and streetcars in Canada. Now we go to Rachel in the field.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm Rachel Finch, and I'm here today with Sarah McKay. She was one of the women that worked in the factories to help support the war effort. What was it like to work in the unclean factories during the war effort?
Working had two different ways to look at it. It had its ups and its downs. It was definitely challenging to work in the harsh environments for long periods of hours. But I knew that I was doing it for my husband and son who was fighting for our country's freedom.
What kind of things did you make while working?
Well, I have some examples here that I brought because on a typical day I would work at a sewing machine making coats for them, blankets, and wool socks. And so I'll just show you what I made. But these ones I had because they didn't go out to the war because the war had ended. So these are just some wool socks that people, like women, would make in the factories. They had many different types, but this is what they usually made. It has a certain stitch that they have to do, and it only took about an hour to make. I also have a coat here, and these coats were heavy duty, and they could hold lots of things. So they could hold their food, their water canisters, grenades, ammunition, whatever they really needed, and it was also warm for the cold nights as well. And the last thing that I would make on a typical day is a blanket. Now these blankets were made out of just recycled materials because the Great Depression, we didn't have a lot, so we used what we had. It's just made out of fibers and like recycled materials, and it was light, so the soldiers could carry it with them in battle, and it wouldn't be that much of a trouble.
Did you feel that women taking the role of men and working in factories really did help with the war effort?
Yes, I do. Women working in factories had helped a tremendous amount because if women didn't step up and take on the role of the men while they were away fighting in the war, then the outcome would have been much different. The soldiers wouldn't have had adequate food, supplies, and weapons. If they didn't have those things to keep them fighting, then we could have lost the war.
Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Now back to Vanessa in the studio.
Thank you, Rachel, for that interesting interview. Now we have another short video clip for you. Now we go back to Rachel with another interview with a man who worked in the forest cutting down trees to make supplies for the war.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm here with Mark Smith. He was a lumberjack during World War II, and he worked with other Canadians to cut down trees for resources. The wood was essential for making fires, which helped with certain types of fiber, string, and more. What did you do on a day-to-day basis to contribute to the war effort?
Well, every day I would cut down trees with all the other workers in the forest. The wood was then transported to factories to be made into weapons, paper, and fibers. These materials would be used to make clothing and blankets.
Was it different when the woman had started to work with men cutting down trees? Don't you think it was a high-risk job and the woman could get seriously hurt?
Yes, it was difficult working with the women, but really, they did love working in the forest, cutting down trees. I think that their dedication and support to put to work for the soldiers. I think that women are able to do the same thing as men, and we don't give them as much credit for how much they do for us. And yes, I do think that is a high-risk job for women to be doing, but they can do what they want. Being a lumberjack and cutting down trees isn't that hard, but it is up to them to do what they want. They just have to be careful and be aware of what is happening around them.
Thank you, Mark. And that is all the time we have right now. Now back to Vanessa in the studio.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time that we have for tonight. Hope you all had a good day. Tune in tomorrow for more insights on our world. I'm Vanessa Tutt, and good night.
I got a confession to make. I don't rush today. Commitment is an enemy to me. But ever since our lips touched my face, it's like your kiss was lace. I'm